Whenever I start, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I feel awkward. Oh, I didn't even tell them that I feel like a thumb. It's just a feeling. Thumb just feels right. That's been 5 minutes of absolutely nothing. Ridiculous. Hello and welcome back. I'm Kristen and it is currently the 5th of January, first Monday of a new year. I thought it would be a good time to start my first reading vlog. I have spent the first couple days of 2026 rereading the Chronicles of Narnia, which I haven't read since I was very, very young, and I've been having so much fun. I'm currently up to The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I'm over halfway. I've got maybe like 60 pages left. They're very, very short books, and I have no idea what I'm going to read for the rest of the week, so I'll check back in soon and I'll keep you guys updated. I'm going to jump back into Narnia. And I also apologise for the atrocious lighting. We are working with what we've got. Hello, it is now the next day. So I have done a fair chunk of reading. It is currently 4 p.m. and completely dark and -5 degrees. So I am rugged up on the couch. Date number 1, I finished The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I don't think I'm going to be rating the Narnia books. It just feels kind of redundant. I am not the target audience, but I'm having fun. I'd forgotten how heavy C.S. Lewis is with the religious allegory, so that was interesting. I think it might be maybe my second favourite. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is obviously number 1. But I actually really liked The Horse and His Boy, even though it's not really related to the Pevensey Kids. Anyway, update number 2. I started listening to the Anthropocene Review by John Green. Essentially, it's 10 to 15 minute chunks of John Green reviewing different parts of the human race, like scratch and sniff stickers or Halley's Comet, like anything you can think of. He talks through it and then gives it a rating out of 5, and I'm having a great time. I think I said it in my first video. I would listen to John Green talk about toothbrushes, so this is kind of what I asked for. I think I'm about 20% through that. And update number 3, I started reading Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood, one of my 26 books for 2026. It is a Greek history / mythology retelling, and I've been really enjoying it. Honestly, it's really, really easy to read. It's from 3 different perspectives. I'm really interested to see how the events turn out. I have my suspicions about what's going to happen at the end of the book, but we shall see. I think I'm about 60% through, so I think I'm going to jump back into that one, and maybe hopefully I'll finish it tonight. Okay, it is the next day. This used to be up here. The next day, I have been sleeping so much today. I finished Lies We Sing to the Sea last night, and I did really enjoy it, but some things were not my favorite. I think I'm gonna gather my thoughts and talk about all the books at the end of the week. I decided to start The Mime Order last night, which is the second book in the Bone Season series. So I am making a cup of tea and I'm about to plop myself on the couch. Some relevant information for you all. I have chronic fatigue, so I am a very, very sleepy human being. I spend probably 50% of my life unconscious. Naps are my best friend. I've had 2 today, and aside from that, I've just been reading and staring at the wall, kind of. I don't even know what time it is. I honestly don't really know what day it is. We're snoozing through the week. So, finishing my tea. It is evening. My concept of time is completely distorted. I just know it's night. I think it might be, I want to say 10 p.m. It could be 7, who knows. I'm gonna finish my cup of tea. I'm gonna keep reading the Mime Order. I'm really enjoying it so far. I had no idea where the story would go post book 1 because I'm going into this series really blind, but I'm having a great time. I think I know what it is about Samantha Shannon's writing. It's so easy for me to just like plow through it. I've been like binging it anytime I've been awake today. All the threads that were getting spun in book 1 are weaving in an interesting way at the moment. So yeah, I'm having a really good time. Okay, tea is made and hot. Couch time. I'm getting right to the end and I'm so stressed. One character is trying something and I think it's not going to work, and I think I know why, and I really hope I'm right. Oh, I haven't been this invested in a book in a while and it's bad. Okay, I better be right. So this morning I finished the Mime Order and oh, what a ride. I don't think I've been this emotionally invested in a series for a really long time. I am like fully hooked. I'm really loving it. I'm definitely gonna jump straight into the next book because I'm hungry for more. And I am exhausted at 4 p.m. So I think I'm going to play my audiobook, The Anthropocene Review by John Green, and do a puzzle for a while with my tea. I'm probably going to end up having a nap soon. And then I will start the next bone season book. So I'll see you later. I've been so slack. I don't think I've spoken to you for like 3 days. I'm still getting used to this vlogging thing. I was also an absolute wreck yesterday. I was completely rotting. I have 3 books to update you on. 4. 2 of them are novellas, so it's not that drastic, but I have absolutely been binging the Bone Season series. We last spoke, I just finished the Mime Order and I was listening to the Anthropocene Reviewed. So what are we up to? I finished the Anthropocene and I absolutely loved it. John Green has a brain that I find so much comfort in. The way he talks, the information he introduces, the emotional beats that he hits just scratch the nicest part of my brain. One of the essays made me cry, which I was not expecting. I just thought it was such a great listen. So many interesting, like, fun facts. And he just has such a unique perspective on the world. I love it so much. I'll talk about it a bit more at the end. I also read The Pale Dreamer, which is a prequel novella to The Bone Season. And then I read The Song Rising, which is The Bone Season 3. And I'm so hooked. I haven't been this locked in on a new fantasy series for such a long time. And it's bringing up all that excitement that you get when you find a new 5-star. So I don't know if I'd say any of the books were like perfect, but I think it is this is a new favorite series without a doubt. I'm having the absolute best time. Oh, and things are gonna get very interesting, I think. I also read The Dawn Chorus, which is like a 3.5. So I kind of started and finished it in one sitting and I just forgot to film about it. So I think the songwriting is all that you guys really missed. But like I said earlier, my thoughts are going to be coming at the end anyway. I'll actually dive in a little bit probably tonight because I'm going to do a bit of reading today, and then this afternoon we can talk through everything that I've read this week. And honestly, it's kind of been like an unprecedented week of reading. I read way more than I expected, but I'm doing literally nothing else. I'm sleeping and eating. I've gone to the gym twice and like done groceries. So I'm very excited. I have just started reading The Woman at Point Zero, which is a feminist novel by an Egyptian writer. I'm really scared. I think it's gonna hurt me, but I'm so fascinated. It's about a woman who is on death row in Egypt, and essentially she's always been reluctant to tell her story, but she's being executed in like a matter of days, and she decides to finally speak up and explain what happened to her. So it's really short, I think maybe 150 pages, but this is one of the books I picked up on my adventures, and I'm really intrigued. So I'm having breakfast and tea. I'm gonna crack into that book, and then I'll tell you all about the books and my thoughts. All right, I'll see you soon. So we made it to the end of our week of reading, which was far more successful than I expected. We read 7 books, which is definitely not an average week. But 2 disclaimers. Obviously I'm unemployed, and 3 of those books were 150 pages or less. So not as crazy as it might sound, but I'm still so grateful that I can read as much as I do. I obviously gave you guys a few thoughts during the week. I thought it would be a good idea to kind of collect my thoughts a little bit, make them more succinct, we'll say. I had a really great time with all the books that I read, and now that I've had time to look back at it a little bit, I thought I would talk you through my overall opinions. So we started with Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood. This book is set in Ithaca as a continuation of the events of the Odyssey. There is a curse on Ithaca that means 12 young women have to be sacrificed every year to Poseidon. And this is the price that Poseidon demands in vengeance for the 12 maidens of Queen Penelope being hanged and cast into the ocean centuries beforehand. The story is told from 3 perspectives. We start with Leto, a young woman who is marked as a sacrifice, and the Prince of Ithaca, who is the one responsible for her death. However, once Leto has met her fate, she actually wakes up on a strange island with a strange girl. She learns from this woman, Melantho, that there is a way for them to break this curse, and the rest of the plot follows on from there. I loved the premise so much. I thought it was a really interesting what would happen next, what are the consequences of these actions. Obviously no one on the island is happy that these women are dying every single year. It's a massive blight on their entire population. I thought that was just so interesting. The writing was really beautiful and really engaging, and for the most part I loved it. There's just a few more modern word choices that pulled me out of the story a little bit, but it wasn't too much of an issue. My biggest gripe, I think, was kind of a lack of an emotional connection. I really liked our main characters, Leto, Matthias, and Melantho. I thought they were really interesting, and they all had really fascinating perspectives on the issue at hand. But in terms of their connections to one another, there was kind of a love triangle thing, which is not a trope that I particularly enjoy, and I wasn't really sold on their connections. I mean, a lot of the time things were told to us instead of shown, and there would be a lot of talk about physical attraction, and then we were supposed to understand this deep emotional connection as well, which didn't really gel in my mind. It was a great length book, but some of the pages could have been used kind of more effectively, I would say, to really understand the characters motivations, which were great, just surface level at sometimes, especially when it came to the side characters. They felt quite one-dimensional. I think there was amazing potential for what this book could have been, and I still did love the story we were told. I just wish I'd been able to feel a little bit more about what happened, because there's some very drastic events and the ending was really, really beautiful. I just think it would have had more of an impact if I'd connected a bit earlier in the story. I had a really, really fun time, and there were so many elements of this book I loved. The plot really was fascinating, and I was intrigued by the way it all unfolded. I just think the execution could have been a little bit more hard-hitting. I would read another book by Sarah Underwood in a heartbeat. And yeah, that was Lies We Sing to the Sea. So the next book I read was The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon, which is book 2 in the Bone Season series. Oh, I'm having so much fun in this world. I thought The Mime Order was even better than the first book, which I did really like, but this is the one that hooked me. So I want to say the pacing was inconsistent in this book, but not in a bad way. The slower parts felt kind of like a reprieve and still kept me really interested. And when things picked up, they really picked up, and I was stressing. The stakes of the whole world got so much higher, and the obstacles that needed to be overcome felt so much bigger in a way that felt realistic. It felt like the events were evolving in a really natural way, and I'm so invested in some of these characters. I love Paige as our protagonist, and seeing her evolve has been really cool. She's honing her abilities and learning to be stronger in a way that feels realistic and not like she has a crazy overpowered ability, which you can sometimes come across. Even for the supporting characters, whether they're quote unquote good or bad, they're all just really interesting, and I feel like their motivations are kind of fleshed out really well alongside their personalities. Like everything they're doing feels right. There is a subplot of romance happening. I'm not mad, I'm just not entirely convinced yet. But I do think a part of that is that Paige herself is not like locked in yet. It does come across as a slowly evolving kind of relationship, which is kind of refreshing. Like I'm not head over heels for this situation, but I can see a potential there, and it feels kind of realistic in the sense that there's no insta love. It's not two people who just absolutely obsessed and completely in love the second that they meet. It feels like they're really getting to know each other. They're good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think I can see what it's gonna become, which is really nice actually. I'm not sold, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. And then, oh my god, the book ends with a plot twist. The book ends with a plot twist. Of course, I'm so glad I had the next book ready for me, because it was one of those plot twists where you are caught off guard, you didn't see it coming, but once you know, it makes sense and you're like, oh, I should have put those pieces together. Well done, Miss Shannon. That hit really, really well. Oh, it was so good. I loved this book. It really cemented the fact that this series is becoming a new favorite for me. The next book that we went through was The Pale Dreamer by Samantha Shannon, a prequel to the Bone Season. It was a nice little flashback to the early years. I don't think it's necessarily essential to the enjoyment of the Bone Season series, but it felt like valuable time with some of our key characters, especially Paige. We get to see her emotional state in her early days in the London Underground, her self-doubt and her need to prove herself, and how the people that she started to build a life with interact with her. And even the little plot that the novella followed had a little bit of emotional weight, which was nice. I think it felt kind of more valuable than I expected it to. So I really enjoyed it. If you're reading the Bone Season, definitely like 80 pages of worthwhile content, I would say. As a third book, I've heard that it's kind of a wrapping up of part 1 of this story, and then the next book will commence a new arc, I guess. Figuring out the best way to talk about sequels without spoiling things in earlier books. I was really, what's the word? Why is my vocabulary just disappeared? I was entirely along for the ride. I think the way that this book expanded the scope of what we've been introduced to so far felt really valuable. I think it increased the stakes again. They keep getting higher. But it increased the stakes in a way that nothing necessarily had to change, but our main characters just got more information. And I think that's a great way to heighten things without advancing a plot too quickly. So that really worked for me, and I had such an amazing time. The ending of this book was huge, and they're introduced a change that's coming that I'm intrigued about. I'm obviously open-minded, I'm reserving judgment, but I'm just really curious to see how it's going to play out. So it absolutely got me excited for the next book in the series. So our next read was The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and I actually listened to this as an audiobook because it was narrated by John Green himself, which is an absolute win for me. I absolutely loved this audiobook. I loved it. I think it was really insightful. It felt like a good balance of informative non-fiction and memoir. Essentially, it's John Green talking about different aspects of the current human civilization and talking about their history or his experience with them and giving them all a rating from 1 to 5 stars. One of the stories is actually him rating the star rating system, so it's a little bit Inception-like, but all of it just felt really informative in an unbiased way and so emotional sometimes. One of them, called Harvey, about an old movie, made me cry, which I did not expect, but it just hit such a specific part of my own experience. Yeah, there's just something about the way John Green speaks and the way his brain works that scratches such a specific part of my brain, and I love his perspective on things. I think he's really earnest and so intelligent, and it creates such a unique kind of content that I've never found the same level of from anywhere else yet. If you have something like this, please tell me. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. My personal favorites were Harvey, Sunsets, Air Conditioning, Teddy Bears, and Googling Strangers. If you want something interesting to listen to, it would be so easy to listen to these one by one or to binge them like I did. I absolutely recommend this book. I had such a wonderful time. Well, hello from my bunk bed. This is Editing Kristen once again, and I accidentally deleted an entire clip apparently. So the next book I read was The Dawn Chorus, the novella that sits between books 3 and 4 in the Bone Season series. This book I 50% loved and 50% felt completely indifferent towards. There's a massive theme of healing in this novella. Book 3 ends with Paige going through something enormous, and it's something that she needs to heal from, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think the chapters that focused on that healing journey were really, really important. I think it was amazing to see that she's not infallible. She's a very normal young woman. She's not invincible. She's been through a lot. It was really nice to see that, yeah, it had taken its toll and she was going to work through it. However, the other half, we were kind of getting flashbacks to events that happened in the first book that we didn't see at the time, just little moments between some of our characters. It just didn't feel necessary. I don't really understand why we spent half of a very short book in that time period. Yeah, I don't know, it just was kind of redundant to me. I think it made sense to break up the moments of darkness and the moments of inner work that Paige was doing with maybe certain memories, but I don't know if that was the most effective way to do it. It was fine. I just didn't feel much about those halves, so I did really like it. I mean, the whole thing was 80 pages, so it was not hard to get through by any means, but I feel like when there's so few pages, you really want them all to count for something, so not as good as The Pale Dreamer in my opinion. But that was the next book I read. Our last read of the week was Woman at Point Zero by Nawal El-Saadawi, who is an Egyptian feminist author. And oh my goodness, this book packed a big punch in 150 pages. So this book is based on a real woman, and it's based on Saadawi's experience meeting a female prisoner in Egypt who was on death row and days away from her own execution. This woman was reluctant to talk to anyone. She had completely accepted her fate, and within her last few days decided to finally tell her story, and Saadawi was the one who got to hear it. We follow Firdaus, our main character, through her childhood to the event that leads to her arrest later in her life. And it was a powerful, powerful book with an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. It is an account of a woman's place in an aggressively and dangerously patriarchal society. It was rapidly paced, but it felt necessarily so. I think the speed that we go through Firdaus's life events made it feel urgent, which it was. She was trying to get her story to another person before she dies. From her childhood to her teenage years to her adulthood, she is just constantly being let down or given such brief a sense of security and having it ripped away from her time and again by these awful people who feel like they can use her. Everything that she experiences is transactional or clouded by such a gross imbalance of power, and we see her trying to do everything she can to reverse that imbalance or find a life for herself that holds some kind of value or power of her own. And the odds are just completely stacked against her, and she goes through marriage and friendship and traditional work and prostitution and traditional work again. She really is like trying everything she can, and the setbacks are just endless. There is this sense of anger throughout the whole novel that I felt right along with her. It was a hard read, but very worthwhile, I'd say. A moment that really hit me was about fruit, actually. She gets asked as a young adult whether she prefers oranges or tangerines, and realizes it's the first time in her life that she's been asked her opinion or even had cause to think about which preference she has. And there's just so many small moments that really, it's hard. It was a great read. It really made me think. It really made me feel. And I think one of the most impactful parts of it was this really impassive tone that the narrator is using, describing such horrific events. Like, please check trigger warnings if you plan on reading this, just in case, because she goes through some horrific experiences, and all of it is said with such a lack of emotion that makes it feel all the more horrific, really. So I think it was a really interesting read. I think it was a really important read, and the fact that it is based on a woman that this author met is frightening, to say the least. But a hard-hitting and hopeless book to end the week on. So on that note, and it was my weekly wrap-up. I really did have a great week of reading. If you're still here, thanks for following along. I hope you liked seeing a week in my life. A very abnormal week in my life, but nonetheless. If you've read any of these, please tell me your thoughts. Or if you have recommendations based on my thoughts here, I would absolutely love to hear them. So thank you for sitting around and reading with me and listening to me yap at the end. Thank you for being here. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.